This is the question I wanted to ask before. And for those of you who are just tuning in, earlier before Sky Perryman came on, we were talking about headlines, news, and stories, and how newspapers and particularly larger mainstream media outlets spin stories based on quotes they get from the source, right? So I think about this, the story that we're reading, it says, Trump says he's in excellent health. The bruises on his hands, the doctor says from shake. That's not the story. The health isn't right. The checkup and the quotes, those aren't the stories, right? The story is the story that we had during Biden, that he's actually unwell. He's objectively not well. And so the story is that they're lying to us. Why isn't that reflected in the headline?
Yeah. And this is an administration, a guy who lies to us constantly. So it's not like he needs the benefit of the doubt. We have dating back to 2015 with him being on the presidential stage. And long before that, this is a guy who lies a lot. And so why wouldn't he be lying about this? Why wouldn't a doctor who nobody has probably ever heard of before, why wouldn't he be ensnared in this the way so many of Trump's other allies are in lying for him? And, when you listen to medical experts, that you see on CNN or MS Now, they're raising questions like Dr. Jonathan Reiner. Like, for instance, most of us who are not 79 years old and overweight and have bruises on their hands, most of us go in for an annual physical. This is his second annual physical in the last year. Why is that?
Annual. And Maxine Hunter in the chat. Hey, Maxine, I got your email. I'll respond later. My emails tell me he's sick, or my eyes tell me he's sick. This is the thing, right? That I've read all of these articles, and when they quote those other doctors who come in and say, look, this dude's not well, and we're concerned about his swollen legs, we're concerned about the weird bruising, we're concerned about this, he falls asleep all the time, all of this stuff, those doctors get the qualification, these doctors who have never examined him and admit that they may be totally wrong, right? Mm-hmm. But the doctor who did examine him and gave him, said he was strong as a bull, is not held up to any kind of standard.
Right. And let's remember back in 2020, right before the election, when Donald Trump got COVID, and with reporting since then, by reporters who withheld some of their reporting for their books, we learned that he was far sicker than it was ever disclosed. I remember watching those press conferences, and it was clearly a dog and pony show. The man was hauled out of the White House on a helicopter, was not able to breathe on his own. And so we have a long history of lies about the president's health. And now, if you look at Donald Trump on any given day, you cannot mistake him for the guy he was on the campaign trail in 2016 or even in 2020. He has gotten markedly older. His ankles are swollen. He's bragging about cognitive tests. Most of us don't have to take cognitive tests unless the doctors are worried that something might be wrong. And so, it's who are you going to believe? Him, his doctor, or your lying eyes? And we don't need to help him with headlines the way so much of the mainstream press has.
That's it. This is a media story, right? And I think that, look, whether he's ill or not is kind of beside the point to me, because he's a shit president, right? When he's well.
There's a reason why Joe Biden didn't end up running for president in 2024, right? Because enough people said, hey, we need a president who can do the job. If you watch him in press conferences, where he loses thought, where he falls asleep, this is not a guy who's up to the job. And he's starting wars all over the globe, and he's crashing the economy. It's kind of bad that he's not up for the job.
And so I think my point is really that he's never been up for the job since, he came down the escalator. He was not up for the job then. He's not up for the job now. He's gotten better at grifting. He's gotten better at screwing all of us and all of these kinds of things. However, an unwell person is less likely to be held accountable for a shit job or for
Mhm.
corruption or for committing crimes. And I want to go back to the COVID situation, because
Mhm.
here's a guy who was the president of the United States, who very possibly nearly died from COVID, and still didn't handle the disease seriously, right? He still
Yeah.
did not handle it in a way that took anything seriously. He let the conspiracy theories uh, out of the bag. He also, not only is he president, not only did he almost die, he has arguably the greatest healthcare of any human being on planet Earth.
Right.
He still almost died from this, and still allowed RFK Jr. and
Yeah.
all of the other nut jobs to talk about ivermectin and disinfecting your individual germs and drinking bleach and all of the crazy shit that he did. He's an unserious person, whether he's sick or whether he's not sick. He's
Yeah.
not good.
I do want to say one thing, and this will probably be the only time I ever say this. Donald Trump, during his first term, does deserve credit for Operation Warp Speed,
Totally.
which brought us vaccines in record time that saved millions of lives. And, at the very least, he didn't stop that, which he should be commended for. And then the Biden administration that followed deserves credit for implementing it and making sure that everything went according to plan. However, the fact that Donald Trump has now appointed RFK Jr. as his health secretary, he was your loser of the week, not this week, but the week prior, really undoes a lot of that legacy. And unfortunately, that is one of the lasting impacts of COVID in this country, is that quacks like RFK Jr. have such power and cachet over people. However, he did do something right. It's just, now we're all paying the price because he seems to want to desperately make us forget that he did something right. And is now just hell-bent on making bad decision after bad decision, whether it's in Iran or with the economy or this slush fund.
That's 1,000% right. And, his like, if, oh my God, it could have been the easiest win for him to say, holy shit, I've cured COVID.
Right.
Like,
Right.
and then double down.
You deserve an arch. I mean, you don't, but.
No, no. Oh, what a dummy. Just dumb.
But his dumb devoted followers all think it was just one big conspiracy, and he can't have them turn on him. And so he's just gonna ignore the best thing the man has ever done in his entire life.